Hello everyone, I'm Jiali. Together with Johan and Mikola, we're Group 1. Today we're going to share our learnings from Google Glasses failure. Here's our agenda. Firstly, let's review what Google Glasses is. Google Glasses is an optical head-mounted display designed in the shape of glasses. It was developed by Google X Studio, and users can communicate with the internet via natural language voice command. Today we want to draw on a lens framework to analyze why startups, in this case Google Glasses, fail.
Hi everyone, I'm Johannes and I would now continue. Thank you, Jali, for the introduction. As mentioned, we would now like to apply the framework Marlene has shown us to evaluate startup failures. I will begin with bad fellows and false start. So when we hear of Google or X development, we often think of many extremely radical and new technologies made by a few of the smartest people all over the world. So then we could think, okay, why is bad fellows then still one argument that caused the failure of Google Glass? In my perception, this could be caused by two major movements here. First, we know X development as many engineers, IT guys. Let's call them stereotypically techies. Even though it's a stereotype, the 2012 version, you cannot deny it, looked really scientific rather than an everyday design. You can see it here on the left side. Also, the core focus of Google's accelerator program is to create core technologies, not necessarily a customer good, with a focus on an elegant design, which is, however, a must-do in the B2C market, especially if such costs over $1,000. How such can be done differently was recently shown by Meta that has released their own version in a collaboration with the world-known sunglass designer Ray-Ban. I think the two pictures below on the left and on the right side speak for themselves. The second point is around the core reasoning of X development. They are corporate venture developers that search for radically new technologies, and if they cannot deliver to their corporate parent, so Google, they will be bound to shut down. This is crucial in the sense that especially so-called moonshots have the characteristic to win big if they succeed, but most often they just don't. Hence, maybe the idea that everyone knew it is a moonshot from the very beginning, rather than a venture that it's driven by its founders and their desire to change the world, is one reason. The second could be the high pressure accelerator caused by having a corporate parent as a bad fellow, and that maybe caused a bad start from the very beginning. Speaking of bad start, we have already discussed that the lean startup framework in class, and on which Eric Ries wrote an entire book on. Bringing the minimal viable product to market and go from there, this is one of the core ethos he's mentioning. But what if you underestimate the MVP? Google Glass is a perfect example that sometimes a product must be ready at the first commercial offering. Google Glass was priced over $1,000 per piece in 2012, much higher than the usual laptop or smartphone at that time. Hence, people believed it to be working, to be ready. That was clearly not the case. As it later came out just at the very beginning of the same year, when they released the first commercial glasses, they still had some short circuit issues in the frame, which is clearly not favorable if this is next to a person's head. To believe to get a customer feedback for $1,000 per piece and design going from there was just not achieved. I assume they wanted to do something as big as the product launch of the first iPhone. However, they were not ready. Consequence, they had a poor publicity and went from one of the best innovations in 2012, mentioned by Time magazine, to a failure that was even recognized by The Simpsons.
Next, I will talk about the false positions and the speed traps. Apart from the commercial issues, the Google Glasses product itself has some problems. Firstly, the awkward price tag of $1,500 is a barrier to many potential consumers. And as a new product, the price tag is not conducive to opening up the consumer market. Secondly, the positioning of Google Glasses was unclear. This resulted in content developers not being able to clearly see the market outlook for the hardware, and thus not being able to successfully embark on developing applications. Google Glasses as a hardware device without adapted software was also a major hindrance to expansion. In addition, the closed sales channels has also prevented the expansion of Google Glasses. This device was only available to US users for most of the time between its public launch in 2014 and its discontinuation in 2015. Also, as a pioneering technology product, it was also not promoted in partnerships with the media. We have to admit that the starting point of Google Glasses is very good, but due to the unclear positioning and marketing, leading to Google in the indecision between the missed opportunity. In addition, the technological chain of smart glasses was not mature at that time. Few people were willing to carry out secondary development based on this device, and Google itself did not develop a powerful application for Google Glasses. In contrast, Microsoft HoloLens is focused on education and even has close ties with NASA. And while Oculus Rift and HTC Vive are mainly focused on the consumer market, they are also working on the commercial sector.
Hi, I'm Michaela. Let's move on to the help wanted and cascading miracles part. The Google X was created with a lack of talent and capital. Initially, the Google joined forces with Luxottica, one of the world's leading eyewear manufacturers, to create the Google Glass, which would help Google design, develop, and market Google Glass. But after several years of development, none of it could escape a feeling of being an instrument like the glasses used in medicine decades ago, and the optician seems less willing to work with Google. In contrast, when Apple developed the Apple Watch, it actively partnered with the fashion magazines to brand the watch as a fashion brand, attracting users to buy and use it with fashion, which worked much better than just selling a pair of watches. For the startup team, there were only 50 people, and only a few of whom has tested Google Glass themselves. On the workplace social networking site LinkedIn, there are 20 Google employees with the job tag Glass Engineering. This shows that even the internal employees do not feel very much as a part of the brand. In fact, the startup success needs complex series of connected events. In terms of design, the Google X design is not ergonomic. There is uneven vision between the left and the right eyes, which may cause many eyes disease. Meanwhile, the glass is a fixed design, so it may not suitable for everyone to wear. In the incentive part, at the beginning, Google X is willing to make a fashion brand while having great functionality. It can also turn into a pair of design matching products, but in the latter stage of the product's development, the team did not package the product in the market, resulting in it appearing very social perception of being bulky and hard to look. In the user's expectations part, the Google started out selling prototype. The head of Google X wanted Google Glass to be marketed first and then refined based on the consumer's feedback, while in the minds of users, the product development using almost 5 years should be a very mature product. Meanwhile, in April 2012, Google announced it was developing a smart glasses. A year later, the features of Google Glass were announced. In October 2013, Google released photos to the second generation of Google Glass with improved features. When the single Google Glass went on sale, it was initially only available to developers, and it was not until last year, 2014, the Google opened it to US users before releasing the end of the shipment to the global market. But people is not a creature willing to wait. It's out of step with the users' expectations. While Google Glass does give users an advantage in certain aspects of the real world, such as the medical field, outside adventures, or customer service department, in other places of use, Google Glass may be discriminated against, hated, or simply asked for leave the premises. Last part is about our conclusion about the whole research. Finally, we want to use a radar chart to illustrate our conclusion. For all the research, we use the blue lines in the diagram to indicate that the failure reason of Google X. We think that the false part is the most important factor in failure, with the false positive and speed traps are the four scores, followed by the bad fellows, help wanted, and the cascading miracles. Okay, that's all for our presentation. Thank you.